The situation with Jonathan Kuminga has officially crossed a line that feels irreversible. Warriors fans have been watching this saga unfold piece by piece. But when your agent goes on national TV to air out frustrations and lay out the drama between player and franchise, it's clear we're not in damage control mode anymore. We're in exit strategy territory. From the outside, it might look like negotiations gone wrong, but from the inside, this is all the signs of a relationship that's beyond repair. And for a team that's trying to make one final championship push with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson, the last thing you want is a distraction like this. Let's not forget the red flags. The moment Kuminga wiped his Instagram and Twitter clean, that was the unspoken signal. When players scrub their social media like that, it's never just a coincidence. That's the modern athlete's way of sending a message, one louder than anything you'll hear in an interview. And then, instead of keeping things internal, his agent shows up on ESPN talking about how Kuminga wants to remain in Golden State, but also wants control of his future. That right there is the kind of double-speak that basically screams, I'm ready to move on. The loyalty sounds good in public, but behind closed doors, this is a player who's checked out. And here's the thing. If you're really committed to the team, if you truly believe in the organization and the vision, you don't push for a player option just to consider staying. You don't play hardball over every line of a contract when you've barely proven you can be a consistent, foundational piece. He's asking for 2 guaranteed years at $25 million per season, and the Warriors, who are in full-on win-now mode, just don't have the time or patience to deal with someone who might not be aligned with their goals. Let's be real. Kuminga's value is plummeting with every public outburst and every missed opportunity for quiet resolution. Once you become more of a headline than a highlight, that's when the conversation shifts from potential to problem. The Warriors have to be laser-focused right now. This is their last dance window. Steph isn't getting younger. Draymond can only anchor a defense for so long before the wear and tear catches up. Klay has been trying to find that old rhythm for 2 seasons now. These next 2 years are it. After that, it's rebuild mode or retirement. So everyone in the building needs to be pulling in the same direction. And if Kuminga can't do that, it doesn't matter how athletic he is or how high his ceiling might be. Even if the Warriors do somehow bring him back on a short-term deal, with a player option after year 3, what good is that if the mindset isn't aligned? How do you go to war in the playoffs with someone who might be halfway out the door? That's not a core piece. That's a placeholder until the next trade deadline. And that's probably what will happen. If he stays, he's just a ticking clock until February, when the front office looks to flip him anyway. But if you're trying to build a championship roster, you can't do that mid-season. You don't suddenly plug in 2 or 3 new guys in March and expect to build the kind of chemistry it takes to survive the Western Conference gauntlet. No, you build that identity in training camp. That's where contenders are made. So now the Warriors are faced with a tough reality. Trade Kuminga now and sacrifice some leverage, or hang on and risk him becoming a bigger distraction down the line. Personally, I say move him sooner rather than later. And yes, it's clear he wants a say in where he goes. He's using that qualifying offer as leverage, telling the team, send me where I want to, just wait it out and walk. That's business, and you can't blame a player for wanting to control his future. But the Warriors have to look at this from their angle too. This isn't about doing right by Kuminga. This is about doing what's right for Steph Curry, for the dynasty, for that one last shot at glory. So the question becomes, what can you actually get for Kuminga? What kind of return makes sense for a team that needs to get better right now? One thing is clear, forget draft picks. That ship has sailed. The Warriors don't need more projects. They don't need another James Wiseman situation. They need guys who can contribute immediately, which means they might have to lower their asking price. If you're moving him within the West, like Phoenix, for example, you're not getting picks. You're getting players. Maybe you add a third team to sweeten the pot. Maybe you absorb a bad contract to make the money work. But at this point, the goal has to be to bring in guys who help you win this season. Personally, I'd rather see him send east. I don't want to watch Kuminga come back to Chase Center in April wearing another Western Conference jersey and lighting us up in the playoffs. Let him grow somewhere else, develop into the star he wants to be, just not at our expense. And that brings me to one team in particular that makes a ton of sense, the Chicago Bulls. There's been noise recently about something brewing there, and honestly, I'm intrigued. The Bulls have a mix of expiring contracts and underperforming assets, which gives the Warriors flexibility. If you're willing to include Moses Moody and maybe even Buddy Hield in the deal, you could bring back real pieces. Look, I'm not the biggest Buddy Hield guy. I respect his shooting, but I've never been completely sold on the fit in Golden State. Same with Moody. He's shown flashes, but at this point, he feels like another development project. But if packaging those guys helps you land someone like Nikola Vucevic or Kevin Huerter, now we're talking. Those are the types of players who can slide into the rotation and make an impact right away. And if you do a 2-for-2 swap instead of 3-for-3, you open up an extra roster spot, which is huge given how many teams are about to make cuts after training camp. That's an opportunity the Warriors have to capitalize on. There are going to be solid players out there who simply don't fit on their current teams. The Nets, for instance, have a roster crunch coming. Same with the Knicks. Names like Malcolm Brogdon, Landry Shamet, or even Alex Len could be available for cheap. You've also got the Sixers reportedly trying to shed salary to re-sign Quentin Grimes, which might mean someone like Kelly Oubre or Andre Drummond is up for grabs. And the Warriors already have trade exceptions in place to absorb a deal like that. So if you make the right move with Kuminga now, you open the door for 1 or 2 more strategic additions later. And suddenly, you've got a squad. Just imagine this for a second. Steph Curry running point. Kevin Huerter at the 2, finally giving us a legit off-ball shooter with size. Jimmy at the 3, Draymond holding down the 4, and Vucevic as the stretch 5. That's a starting 5 that can compete with anybody. Then off the bench, you've got Seth Curry, D'Anthony Melton, Gary Payton II, Brandon Podziemski, maybe even Kelly Oubre or a buyout addition. Add in veterans like Al Horford and someone like Quentin Post, who, by the way, quietly shot over 40% from deep last season, and now you're cooking with gas. And speaking of giving Steph Curry the tools he needs, let's talk about what could have been, because that Kevin Durant trade rumor from the deadline, yeah, it was real. And now that it's been confirmed KD turned down a return to Golden State, you can't help but feel that sting. Not because the Warriors desperately need Durant to win again, but because it's such a missed opportunity to settle unfinished business and take one last dominant swing at a title with a group that knows exactly what it takes to get there. When you imagine what that reunion could have looked like, the possibilities were endless. Steph and KD together again, with a more seasoned supporting cast, could have been the stuff of nightmares for the rest of the league. Durant may not be in his prime anymore, but he's still putting up elite numbers. He's still a matchup nightmare. And when you add that level of firepower next to Steph, with Draymond anchoring the defense and providing that on-court leadership, you're immediately in the inner circle of contenders. You're no longer just in the conversation. You are the conversation. That's how big a move it could have been. And it's hard not to feel a little bit frustrated that personal history or bad blood from the 2019 breakup might have played a part in blocking something that could have reshaped the league yet again. But here we are, and instead of KD in a Warriors jersey, he's now a member of the Houston Rockets, a team that was already turning heads with their young core and defensive toughness. And now, they just became a serious problem for Golden State. You add Durant to that mix, and suddenly the Rockets aren't just promising, they're dangerous. And they're not alone. The entire Western Conference is a minefield. Denver still looks like a machine with Jokic leading the charge. The Mavericks are massive, physical, and built to grind teams down in the playoffs. The Timberwolves, who people were laughing at 2 years ago, now have one of the best defensive front courts in the league. And then you've got the Thunder, the Kings, the Clippers if they ever get healthy. The list just keeps growing. This isn't the West from 5 years ago. It's deeper, it's more versatile, it's younger, and a lot more athletic. So if the Warriors want any chance of keeping pace, let alone leading the pack, they got to have their house in order. And that means clarity, not chaos. That means veterans who know their role, young guys who fit the system, and no lingering drama about who's in or who's out. It's about building something that can last from October through June, not just catching fire for a few weeks in March. The margin for error is way too slim now. That's why the Kuminga situation feels so urgent. This team can't afford to let this drag on through camp, preseason, and into the start of the regular season. Every day he's still around is a day of uncertainty. And when you've got as many moving parts as the Warriors do, you can't afford uncertainty. You need cohesion. You need buy-in. That's why moving him opens the door not just to better fits on the court, but to a better vibe in the locker room. Culture matters more than ever in this era. Teams with clear identity and chemistry go further than those just trying to stack names. And one of the things Golden State has always done well, at least during their championship runs, is build a roster that complements their stars. Not just in terms of talent, but mentality. Guys like Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston, David West. Those weren't just role players, they were culture players. They kept the team steady through rough patches. Right now, the Warriors need more of those guys. Which is why, if you're moving Kuminga, you've got to think beyond just who scores the most. You have to think about who fits the system, who brings professionalism, and who understands how to win. Vucevic might not be flashy, but he can rebound, stretch the floor, and pass out of the post. Kevin Huerter gives you spacing and size at the two. These are guys who might not headline ESPN, but they win you playoff games. And look, there's always the dream scenarios people toss around. What if the Warriors land another big name out of nowhere? But the real value is in depth. It's in building a rotation that's 10 guys deep with no glaring weaknesses. That's how you survive a long season. That's how you survive a Western Conference where any given night you could be going up against Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Anthony Edwards, or now Kevin Durant in Houston. You can't out-talent every team anymore. You have to outsmart them, outwork them, and outlast them. And that only happens if the roster is built right from day one. That's why this upcoming training camp is so crucial. It's not just a tune-up. It's where the culture for the year is built. And for the Warriors, who've been hovering in that weird middle ground since the 2022 title, good, but not great, this is the moment to define who they are. Are they a veteran team holding on to past glory? Or are they a focused, hungry group with one last run in them? Because let's be honest, they've been a play-in team more often than a contender these past couple years. And the front office knows that's not good enough. They know the window is closing. And when you look at Steph Curry, still performing an MVP level, still outworking guys 10 years younger, you can't waste that. You just can't. Every move from here on out needs to be made with one goal: maximize these final 2 years. That's it. That's the whole mission. Not rebuild, not restock, not plan for 2028. It's win now. And anything that gets in the way of that, including the drama with Kuminga, has to go. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. In what could be the most shocking move of the NBA offseason, whispers around the league have transformed into a deafening roar. Kevin Durant, one of the game's most prolific scorers, is reportedly set to sign a 4-year deal with the Golden State Warriors. The news has sent shockwaves through the basketball world, leaving fans, analysts, and even Durant's closest peers scrambling to process the implications of such a seismic shift. Durant's journey has been the stuff of headlines for over a decade, from his early dominance with the Oklahoma City Thunder to his controversial yet successful stint in Brooklyn. However, the prospect of him donning the Warriors' blue and gold once again, a team already stacked with talent and championship pedigree, is a storyline that seems ripped straight from a Hollywood script. According to sources close to the situation, discussions between Durant and Golden State executives have been intense but surprisingly swift, suggesting both sides are eager to make this union official. The buzz around social media is palpable, with speculation running wild about how this move might reshape the balance of power in the Western Conference. Fans are debating everything from potential starting lineups to Durant's chemistry with the current roster. Meanwhile, rivals are bracing themselves for the nightmare matchup of facing a Durant-Warriors tandem that could be nearly unstoppable. There's even talk among insiders that this deal could reignite old rivalries, with former teammates and coaches weighing in on what this means for the competitive landscape. While nothing has been formally announced yet, the rumor mill is relentless. Sports analysts are dissecting every tweet, every cryptic statement from team officials, and even Durant's past interviews for hints of confirmation. The consensus? If true, this signing could redefine the Warriors' dynasty narrative and cement Durant's legacy in a way few anticipated. One thing is certain. The basketball world is on edge, and the next few weeks promise to be as electrifying as the prospect of Durant himself stepping back onto the court in San Francisco. The NBA community holds its breath, fans clutch their jerseys, and the rumor continues to swell. Kevin Durant to the Warriors might just be the blockbuster nobody saw coming, yet everyone will be talking about for years. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.